Tip number 1. Do not completely ignore Legion events and war bosses. They have a very high chance of dropping a scattered prism, which is required to add sockets to your gear. Scattered prisms only have a very low chance to drop in Hell Tides, so if you do not do any Legion or war boss early, you will most certainly be running out of them when you are completing your build. However, you do not need to farm a lot of them, because scattered prisms are not something that you would consume in large quantities. So, just do a couple of Legion events or war bosses when they showed up to keep a healthy stock level depending on your class. Barbarians and rogues will be needing more scattered prisms because they can equip more weapons than other classes. Number 2. Start transitioning to Nightmare Dungeons as early as you can. While it is tempting to farm Hell Tides all the way to level 100, Nightmare Dungeons are actually the best option for progression at around level 70 or earlier if your build can handle it. There are two reasons for that. One is so that you can start leveling up your glyphs, and second is the ability to get 925 item power gears early. If you do not know, 925 gears can only drop from areas with monster level 95 or higher. If you farm exclusively in Hell Tides, you will only be able to get them after your character is level 85 and with Profane Mind Cage buff active. Even then, the gears dropped from the Hell Tide chest will not guarantee to be 925. Meanwhile, for Nightmare Dungeons, you can have access to level 95 plus monsters regardless of your character level by using a Nightmare Sigil of tier 41 and above. You can craft them at the occultist with sigil powder that you can get by either farming lower tier Nightmare Dungeons or from Trio Whispers caches. However, tier 41 plus Nightmare Dungeons can be quite dangerous if you are not prepared, so I would recommend having your resistances and armor close to, if not maxed out, to have an easier time farming them. You can achieve that by either tempering your gear or socketing diamonds or skulls into your jewelry. Speaking of tempering, tip number 3 is to always temper your gear first before you start enchanting them. This is because tempering has a very good chance of failing, or in other words, not getting the stats that you want after exhausting all the tempering attempts. If you enchant first, you might be wasting millions of gold on a piece of gear that ended up not having the right tempering stats. This is coming from someone who rolled dodge chance 6 times in a row when I wanted maximum life after spending close to 10 million gold on enchanting. Tempering first makes a lot of sense also because the cost of tempering is really negligible. In Season 4, we are all swimming in crafting materials but extremely poor on gold, so you won't be running out of tempering materials anytime soon. Tip number 4 is actually related to gold farming. The Harvest and Ritual Whispers that give 3 Grim Favors are actually more efficient than the dungeon ones that give 5 Grim Favors. It takes around 4 to 6 minutes to speed clear a dungeon, but only 2 to 3 minutes to complete a Harvest or Ritual Whisper. So, you should be able to complete 2 Harvests or Rituals with the time it takes to complete 1 dungeon, and it will net you 6 Grim Favors instead of 5. Also, the 3 Grim Favor Whispers are typically much closer to a waypoint, which significantly cuts down the travel time. Sometimes, you might be able to get a bonus 1 Grim Favor Whisper done while you clear a harvest, which makes it even more efficient. With that being said, the PvP Whispers that grant 5 and 3 Grim Favors are still by far the best ones, so do prioritize them first. Last but not least, tip number 5 is to save all the knife 25 gears with greater affixes even if they are not useful for your current build. This is for 2 reasons. First, you might decide to play a new character in the future, so the gears that you are saving now might be useful for that character. Secondly, some of those gears might fetch a really good price on the trade market. You can keep them in your stash first, then go on the trade channels on Diablo 4 Discord to get a feel of what people are actually buying. If you happen to have some gear that people would buy, you'll be tens if not hundreds of million richer just like that. Alternatively, you can just post all the gear on Diablo.trade or any of the other trade websites, and some people might message you if they are interested. You do not have to worry about running out of stash space because Blizzard has increased the maximum number of stash tabs, and legendary aspects do not take up inventory space anymore. That's all the tips that I would like to share with you today. If the video helped you in any way, a like and subscribe will mean the world to me. Also, feel free to comment down below what is your number 1 tip for Season 4. You never know, you might be a big help to some other players if they happen to read the comment. Thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.